So I think it's maybe gonna call Kirk.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but she just sent me stuff about on and off. Couldn't think of a bunch of stuff. So if we either have to have Michelle.
Make a little bit. All right.
Now,
That
for
was
work
easy.
session, you can just talk.
Right.
All right. We are live and including.
Yeah, she'll be available to be in for a vote. Have a vote if you want. Or she can do 32. She's gonna call me that she agrees.
I just put that there, so.
I'm just- Brett and I work out our dances.
That's not.
Yeah. He found out I wore a skeleton. So he decided he knows.
I do on the internet. I don't, yeah.
Sorry, Brett. He knows I know.
And then Heather's on with you.
I mean, I've done it. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this, these are some of the things that were in it. Steph.
How are you? Well, I have, we got somebody else in here. I think I'm going to be on. All right, thanks for calling in.
I have not read the entire 104-page tip.
Well, a lot of it.
Well, I gotta get through that one, so I get to the amendment.
Well, I got the amendment. I just through that, but
It makes you sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really interesting. Well, that joke is on the guys. In
And I'm still trying to understand the true functional definition of life.
well,
Seems to be in the eye of the
that,
It
that
is.
that was my first question.
I
Would you call
honestly-
this next door you white?
I just kind of, put a bunch of trash out and then they.
Oh, one. Okay. What's the make down with the project so we can hear?
You're very good.
You can sit back here and watch it.
I can, inside, you want to participate. It's up to you.
The big thing, when we look at the first page. It's actually page 3 that says. The redevelopment area would not be reasonably anticipated redevelopment that will system of taxing. So if you said. In terms of the rights. Retail statements. Yeah, if you said. The price of land is 2%. So, in general, like, people are building apartments today. Without TIF. So.
Yeah. I sat in a discussion with somebody that said,
You there?
I'm here.
Okay, I'll put you on.
Living here, but the topography is just impossible to work with. It's expensive. That's right. It's a lot of assumptions being.
All right, got you both.
I know I'm thinking I do too. 6 months I can't. It's really just water.
Yeah.
I can't afford it.
What's in
That's
that?
me. That was basically.
I don't. Okay, are we don't have a quorum unless we have somebody online.
We have Michelle Herzan online.
Okay.
We
Hello,
have,
Michelle.
they're saying hello, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle.
She might be muted.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a work session time, so we've got a couple items here, so Angela, do you need to do a roll call or you just got it or?
We have 4 members. Sue, Alex, Chris, and Michelle are present.
Okay,
So,
we'll do an indication. I'll go ahead and lead that if that's okay. Dear Lord Jesus, we just thank you for this day. Or just be with us as we make decisions for TCD and ultimately our community. Lord, we are thankful to live in this community. We are thankful that this community just honors you and honors faith and flag. And Lord, I just want to pray for, I think it was Pam's grandson, maybe that she was talking about here, and just be with him. Just help him to get the medical care that he needs as well. And we just ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Did I get grandson right?
Yes.
Okay. So I heard a little bit of that conversation, so. Okay, the first thing on our work session is the TIF plan discussion. You guys should have gotten some documents on that. We also got a document from our attorney. And I think at the end of the day, we can do a couple different things. We can either say we're fine with it, we can say we're not fine with it, we can not do anything, or we can say this is great, but we don't like this. At the end of the day, there is based on what I've seen, is they take 50% of the TCED tax for 23 years. And so if you look at that over time, it's millions of tax dollars that would go to marketing. And so I think we have to do it based on what we think is best for the district. What we would do, Kirk and Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, is we would basically just give our recommendation to our appointed person that will be on the TIF commission, which is
Cody Fenton.
Cody Fenton, and he's representing several political entities.
Yes.
It's that commission meets July 15th. They make a recommendation. That recommendation then goes to the Branson Board of Aldermen. They can either agree with it, disagree with it, do whatever they want with it, but that's all they are the ones that ultimately decide. So I think we're just making a recommendation based on the TCED. So today we have really, I guess, 2 TIFs that we primarily, there's probably more than that, but 2 main TIFs that we deal with, which is Branson Hills and Branson Landing, where they're taking half of it. And it's, at the end of the day, it's probably about $1 million if I'm ballparking. Does that sound right, Angela, or a little more?
Branson TIF is about 1.5 between the two. And then there's also the little bit aquarium at the boardwalk. But for the year, it's about $1.5 million.
We're getting half of that though, right?
The million and a,
Or
yes,
$1.5
we get the
million
$1.5
going
million.
away.
50%.
We get $1.5 million.
Okay.
They're getting $1 million.
Okay, so I was off by $500,000.
Yeah.
So, which in a couple of years, those TIFs will be hopefully done. So anyway, there was a lot of documents there. And so this is a work session. We're not making a motion in here, but I'm just trying to lay out the ground information, at least the best I could.
How long has the Branson Landing TIF been going on?
2000,
Since
2006, but it was amended in 2000. It's not going to expire till 2029. I think it was amended in 2006, so that stretched it to the 23 years of 2029. Branson Hills will be in 2027.
So what's the magic thing about the number 23 years
Statute.
statute? That's the maximum according to statute?
Yes,
That's
Okay.
TIF legislation reading.
you could do it for less, but few do.
Well, I mean, if I was a developer, I can get 23 or 10,
Mhm.
I'd take 23.
One of the things in the, they have they have a redevelopment project area 1, project area 2, and project area 3. And in that, they've got estimated project cost and then what TIF reimbursement would be, and there's acquisition cost in here. And what it doesn't do is to me, it doesn't break down where the TIF reimbursement is going to, and I didn't see that in here. And so when it says, I'll give you the example on project area 1, it says the building cost is 123 million, and out of that 20.7 is going to TIF reimbursement. So, and underneath that, it lists, the sports entertainment facility, residential units, historical attraction, and hotel. It's the same thing then for project area 2. And then project area 3 is the city project. And it says building cost 80 million, and I'm rounding these numbers, okay? But it says that the TIF reimbursement is going to be 80 million. And then there's other things in there. And so this may have been one of the modifications, but I never previously saw where the TIF was going to reimburse the whole city project. So I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but when I saw that, I was kind of surprised. So you have this TIF in some cases could be paying for residential units, convenience stores, sporting goods, strip retail. I mean, it doesn't break it out in here, so I don't know what that does, but I think, I think the question is what's this board do? Does this board make a recommendation that we want all of our money? Are we fine just saying we're giving half of it away, or we don't take a position, or we take some different position than that, which you might be in favor of giving the money for the TIF for the sports complex back, but nothing else. That's an example of something different. And once again, this is just a recommendation. What we do here is it's just gonna go up the chain.
The attorney, when he gave us his analysis of the situation, it seems like the numbers are way different than what you just expressed. Oh, no, this is cost benefit analysis. I'm sorry, that's not the entire project.
Buddy. Yep, I'll put you on speaker. Hang tight and then go ahead and mute your phone. Okay. Brett. Brett, Michelle. Yep, and Heather.
Is he coming, or is he? No. Okay.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
So we're talking about the TIF, we're under work study session.
Do we have how much is being, how much TIF is in the Branson Landing in the 23 years? Or do we have a projection on that? Anywhere?
The Branson Landing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just, We could ballpark
get
it.
those? Do we get those figures?
We do get those figures. I
Okay.
don't think it's been tallied for the entire,
For the 23
period.
years?
but right now it's about $700,000 a year is what we're returning to the city.
So if you said 700,000 times 20 would be
yeah.
14 million.
It's a big
It's probably
number.
more than that, some.
Mhm.
But it's almost half what this is.
So. Yeah, because you have different, of course, these are, what they tell you here is just their best guess.
Well,
Estimate
it's
based
a
on,
format,
Right, yeah.
basically, yeah.
The important thing to consider is, do we find these to be tips to be beneficial to the community? And I feel like if you're to talk to the average resident or the average business owner, obviously there's a sentiment about tips that you have to recognize that exists. But beyond that, are we better off with the Branson Landing or better off without a Branson Landing? And from a branding standpoint, what we market, I see that everywhere. I see the fire shooting out of the pipes. You see zip lines going across Taneycomo, and then when the TIF goes away, although it's a 20-year, 23-year investment of 50% of economic activity tax, what's it look like on the back end? Almost like a long-term investment. Like you're pulling from it still. And one of the things that I brought up at FOC, I think, and then some other conversations I've had around the community is, that land is sitting, minus one exception, I think, is sitting undeveloped. It's not producing revenue. So you're talking about bringing something in that brings revenue. The question is it cannibalize other businesses in the process? And then what do you do in the 23-year period moving forward to this district? So I know I've asked questions and said, well, with TCED, like if we give away 50% of revenue on economic activity tax, so our sales tax political subdivision is getting that 50% in something that wasn't producing revenue, hurting us or helping us on the long run once that falls away and that development's there, and then just the economic impact. If it's true that those type of businesses bring, and you have to trust the reports for what they say, is the benefit that comes from that bigger than the cost of 50% of currently not earned economic activity tax or sales tax, in this case, economic activity tax and TIF. But I think that's like the big thing. Like, is that worth it to this political subdivision for the tourism district to bring those things to bear? I think that's like the big discussion point. Obviously, there's many sub points that go into that, but
Maybe if it wasn't 23 years at the outset, but maybe it was 10 years and then they reapplied for additional time if they needed it. It wasn't quite so scary.
I think it's probably worth noting. I've heard it secondhand, and if folks that represent those groups want to mention it, it's completely up to them. But I've heard that the city is supportive. The Board of Aldermen is supportive of it. Ms. Pam, does the chamber have a position on it? I've heard through the grapevine. that
We're
there was
trying
one.
to help educate and we are supportive. We believe that it can help us get to a year-round economy. As you know, the Taney County Partnership was instrumental in, taking lead on doing the feasibility study for the sports facility. So we see it as a good thing for our community.
And then you have other jurisdictions, obviously, to look at it. It goes both ways, from school district to ambulance district. There are withholdings for emergency services. That's gonna help, but yeah, you have to take the cost associated and just ask yourself, is the cost greater than the proposed benefit of the infrastructure to come in, including the sports facility? And one of the things I've heard that kind of gives the landing TIF a bad name, that's not shared, I guess, in conversations with it, which kind of gives this one a bad reputation rolling out, is that the Branson Landing TIF actually had other things associated with it, like a previously failed TIF. The bonds from the Gretna TIF that had failed rolled over into that TIF, and then the city also refinanced things like the City Hall project and I believe the convention center into that as well. So that's important to not forget that although it looks really, really bad from the outside in, I think most people would say that its presence is helping our tourism economy, even if it wasn't done the greatest, when it was brought about. I thought that was interesting, though, that was shared, that there's much more to that particular tip, than most people know. And then just kind of looking at this, you know, I had a conversation with someone in the hotel industry, that mentioned that, why do we need more hotel rooms? Our booking rate, I can't remember what the appropriate term is, would tell us that we shouldn't be adding more to it because it's going to cannibalize the existing business. And so you hear arguments both ways, just which side helps us as a board of directors for enhancing tourism in this area, help that bang for the buck go farther. Because one of my questions was, if these businesses within the TIF are not going to, 50% of that's not going into the district coffers, the marketing is going to ensue. They're going to be in the district and be marketed. So just, understand, like, is their presence going to help drive extra revenue outside of the TIF boundaries to kind of help offset the inside TIF loss of revenue just due to the TIF itself? If that makes sense.
Yep.
Pam, do you guys have preliminary results from the feasibility study? Do you have any of those available yet?
Yeah, we've shared it, we've had community, Chris, did you attend one of them?
Yeah, I attended one thing, but I don't have any of the details. Of that. I think, it's well, there's so many different levels on this because it's like from a standpoint of fair competition, where some businesses are getting tax credits and others aren't. That's one thing, right? But I think if you said for the facility, how do we fund the facility? There is no good competition on the facility, right? As far as like, there's not another facility that brings. I think that was different. But I think when you talk about, convenience stores, strip retail and all that, restaurants, that to me becomes a little different issue. But once again, I don't know whether you want to get into that or would you say, hey, we support the TIF on the sports complex and not talk about the rest of it. I don't know. I mean, and that's why we're having the working discussion. What is the board?
What phase is the sports complex? So is that phase 1?
Phase 3.
Well,
Phase 3? That's
If
city
you look on
property,
the map here, project number 3 is the city sports complex
right?
on their one sheeter on their reverse
Okay.
side. It is in the TIF, and there's some different mechanisms that are being used as far as funding goes. But I believe what the city is doing for that particular project, for project number 3, is seeking out a capital stack with a preference of obviously trying to get it private, and then using other mechanisms within economic development, whether it be a TDD or a CID to help, or another tax, which whatever that ends up being as a public funding mechanism for the city sports complex. I have also been told that it's probably going to be a long shot for the community to pull off the sports complex if it doesn't get passed in conjunction with this project, just because of for whatever reason. I haven't quite gotten all of the details yet, but we've heard the topics talked about regularly. This feasibility studies have been done numerous times. There's some other things that are important here. It's not the purview of this district, but it's important to the community. If we can drive economic development, housing is still related, although it's not our primary responsibility. Our primary responsibility is tourism, but I think it's important to note too that any deliverable of housing units, actual housing units, not nightly rentals, is very important. I mean, to think about, because we can have tourism destinations, but if we don't have the ability to man and staff those, we all hear about it regularly. But
Right.
for here, it's economic development. My big thing I wonder is bringing these types of businesses. Is that the future of Branson tourism? Is that going to help us drive more revenue, enhance revenue? And if the answer is yes, that's what we're lacking, in some modernization in that. that's where you gotta wonder, maybe that benefit is greater than the initial investment.
So on phase one, this is where and I just handed this to you, where it says sports entertainment facility 37.8 million. So that's why, and then in phase three or city project, then we have the 80 million there too. So I'm like, is one and the same or what is that? So I don't, and I just printed that out from the most current packet.
Yeah, I guess, retail and all those other items that are included in the TIF, these are all things that would benefit the district. And if it is true that there's nothing coming from that now, is the idea, not to oversimplify the issue, but that everyone's heard it mentioned, the 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. I don't know if that's completely fair because there's more to it than that. But is that something when we're looking at how we're looking at this from a economic development philosophy standpoint, like, is this something like, yeah, I mean, this is something that will help drive those markets that we want for tourism here in an area that's not got anything in it at this time. But then cannibalization bothers me too. So I have to wonder, like, if there is an underutilization, why is it underutilized? Is it not modern? Is it not appealing to the folks that want to come here? I know that's again not our purview, but it's what's going to bring us the most bang for the buck as far as getting people here to spend money and generate sales tax. That's where I'm thinking about the modernization being a good idea, coupled with housing, coupled with community. Like it shouldn't be lost in anybody too. We're here to focus on tourism revenue, but our 12,000 residents that vote and elect and put people together and in positions of responsibility to help drive this tourism market. Those are big deals and they're big revenue drivers as well. Sports complexes. I think a really good example of that is what the city did with ARPA funding on the quadplex for the softball fields. If you've driven by there, you'll know very quickly that we've extended playing seasons and there's been some definite economic impact that's come from that one sports facility modernization. So just something that's not lost on me. I sat actually with Mr. Groman earlier in a meeting and listened to a lot of these details. And so I'm here to, we have to do the right thing and we have to be strategic. And I imagine that this is better for us in the long run if it's going to be treated much like having a Branson Landing. If a developer wants to come in and do a pay as you go, like what I'm being told and what I've read is that he or the developer does not get anything up front. They don't have the ability, the city is not going to be bonding it. So the residents in the district are not going to be on the docket for these funds. They have to build and start collecting revenue, and then it's a reimbursable as they go, which is how they briefed and improved. And I guess it's also another point that does anybody remember the Mammoth Fieldhouse project? So this is actually those are not stacked. So this was already approved by the city and pushed through economic development processes as we're updating that. It's fallen away and it's rolled back up into this deal. So I think that's something to look at too. Just because we said yes last time doesn't imply you have to this time as well. But I don't know. That's
So
what
because they were gonna give 5 billion to the Mammoth. And so you're saying you're saying it's now in this, because I thought when I looked at it, it looked like it was out, but
Mammoth's in this.
so they're
If that previous deal is evaporated and it's not being stacked. There's not an incentive that's awarded that's going to be, because in committee, I chaired the proactive government committee. We asked city staff directly that question. We're given direct answers that there is no stacking of those economic benefits and that Mammoth Fieldhouse has been put into this project. So. Sorry, I'm not plays all the time.
Kirk, do you have any comments, input?
yeah, this is something that when you talk to certain people that travel here, the landing has become their Branson since it's new and its existence. It's a centerpiece for the fireworks show. It's a centerpiece for retail shopping, live music outdoors, the uh, the fountains that are resemblance of those in Vegas. It has enlightened, or like you said, and lifted a modernization of the Branson market off of the 76 entertainment corridor. And when you look at a field where they're trying to put in potentially 16 or 17 businesses, of which most of them deal with our bylaws of community and economic, which we're set up to do. To me, it makes an awful lot of sense to get that land producing revenue, which could enhance more tourism, more jobs, more working, more environment. And I do believe the philosophy, I know Wilson, I know Phillips, on what they did in Springfield with the Betty and Bobby Allison complex across from the airport. It has become almost a gateway into Springfield. I've watched them do work in Tulsa. I watched them do work with the Deer Lake Golf Course. It's incredible the entrepreneurial spirit that they bring to this. And I think that it will be done with first class. I've also had many private meetings with some of the people who are going to invest privately into this business. So the public private side has got a nice balance to it. You'll have new investment into our marketplace. You'll have an upgraded opportunity for the faith side of things, where they're actually trying to recreate the tabernacle from the Middle East of where Jesus was born, and have a museum that stands on that point. You'll have activities that we don't have here that could bring 12-month economy. And we keep talking about vision and growth and where we're going to be in 5, 10, and 15 years, and what will we leave for those that come behind us when Alex is in his 50s to do his work here. I think this is something that I love, the risk that many of these people are looking forward toward to expand and grow our market. And to me, good sound economic study, research, and data and investment makes a lot of sense for us to come together as a community and get our arms behind this. And if it does happen where we receive 50% like we do from the landing, that's just a big benefit to the TCD district.
Angela, you have any comments?
I was curious, Alex, if you've asked what percentage of TIF is normal in a development project like this? This seems to be running between 20 and 25% of the total funding package. Is that correct?
That's about the numbers that have been seen. They have also, it's worth noting that, there's a cap that's been set for the project. That was briefed to me today. The developer's capped at this time, going through the project at a maximum of 27.47% of eligible project costs. And that's for this specific deal. So I thought that was interesting to note. It's an investment. I mean, as an individual, I was like not sitting in a chair representing other people. The way I was brought up is you do your finances, and if you can afford something, you pay for it. If you can't, you don't. But it doesn't quite work that way. In Branson, Missouri, there's other things going on here, and there's investments that are made, and it's we want to modernize Branson for the future without abandoning values, and we can 100% do that. If it is gonna stay, if the Gretna corridor, which I think it's interesting that that location had previous TIF work done on it with infrastructure upgrades, so it'd be almost a continuation of an already previous investment that's been made. Just needs to be done better this time, which is important. And then just recognizing that there are other business owners that, if they're not being, left in the dust or felt like, hey, what was done for me, the important part there is to then have a deliverable and drive more people to their business and not, drive business in, but leave them out in the cold, if you will. And that's not going to happen. I mean, that's where we're responsible in picking a great partner to help market, the entirety of the district. And so, this is just another tool that should drive it as it's advertised and how it's been presented. It's supposed to hit some of our key things as a community and as a district. It's proposing, it's a $300 million investment in the community. So I don't. The one interesting thing for me is how the city sports complex is going to pan out. I don't quite know what the private capital stack is going to look like, or if it's going to be a public ask, or if the community is going to be asked to support that. And again, by vote in a separate issue. That's for down the road whenever we get farther in the project. But
I think the sports complex and the historical attraction are the drivers. I don't think any of the other stuff, quite frankly, are drivers.
which two items? The
attraction and the sports facility. I think those two things are the drivers. I don't think anything else in there is what I call a driver. They're a satisfier. Convenience store is not gonna get the guy from Chicago to come down here. Maybe, unless maybe it's a Buc-ee's on steroids, I don't know, but that's my thing. I think if we're trying to say what drives incremental new visitation, it's those two items. Okay, I'm gonna ask, because we're not taking a vote on anything right now. Is there any other discussion anybody wants to have, or can I move on to the next topic? I wanna make. Yep, go ahead, Pam.
So each of you that serve on this board, you're appointed by, the county or Village of Indian Point or whatever. What due diligence have you all done, like seeking, like listening to who appointed you, like talking with the city to say, what's your stance on this? You're talking to the county to say, what's your stance on this? Other things. I think it's important that you are representing the stakeholders who appoint you to this. And if you haven't had that conversation yet about what their goal is, are you going to, after this meeting is over, are you going to talk to them?
Pam, what do you see as the impact during the second half of December, January, February, and March? If this goes through, let's look 5 years down the road. What are you feeling like the impact is gonna be in this area during that time?
Well, I think from the research and the feasibility studies we've done, and then, listening to, other destinations that have a sports facility. I mean, if you build it, they're gonna come, right, Kurt? I mean, that's basically what it is. Even when the economy is down, even when there's COVID, sports parents traveled with their kids. That was the one thing that you could count on. And I will tell you, I've been in Branson for way over 30 years. We have been talking the entire time that I've been here about how do we get to a year-round destination? How do we keep people from having to go on unemployment for January, February, and March? All these things. If we don't do something different than what we've always done, we're always going to have the same thing. And 20 years from now, young Alex Williams over here is going to be sitting in here having the same conversation, probably Ashley, and talking about how do we get to a year-round destination. So I'm just saying it's a proven recipe. Other destinations that have built the indoor sports facilities, they see the benefits of it. The difference between Branson and everywhere else is that when families come here to participate in a sporting event, there's other things for them to do. So they stay longer, they come back on vacation. And then to say, take the sports facility and then you surround it with other things that can stay open year round and bring people here. To me, it seems like here's a solution. Is it the one thing that will completely get us to a year-round destination? But boy, it's a big start. And those are my opinions only, but it's from the the feasibility study that we looked at is from talking to other destinations that share the impact that having this year-round sports facility in their market. And I'm telling you, it's people like Rocky Top down in Tennessee that they talk about how little family inns and stuff had to close down in the wintertime. And now with their sports facility, they don't have to close anymore. It's been a game changer. So again, if we don't want to try to do something different, then we're not very smart if we think anything will change, if we're not willing to do something different. Because the recipe we have now is great for the time that we have people here, but it's not a recipe for year round. That's just my opinion. Gary may have another opinion.
Sure.
This isn't gonna be your grandma's sports center, the way I see it. I was at the same conference a lot of you went to, as they talked, this company has 9 or 10 around the area that they work with. This is gonna be regional to national. This is gonna be big. Is it a big gamble? It's a huge gamble. But if it pays off, it could be the vehicle that will keep Branson going for the next 50 years. And it's something entirely new. As far as just getting 50% of the revenue goes, you have to ask yourself, if this thing goes through, how much are you gonna have to increase your marketing budget to market? You're gonna continue doing the same thing you're doing now, making basically the same decisions, using the businesses and the techniques that are gonna do the most for Branson for every dollar you spend. If 50